This week on Ferris Focus, we get a special look inside the Jim Crow Museum in Big Rapids Life. We expand our cultural horizons with The Spanish Miner in a program spotlight. Learn about the many characters of Keith Horvath, otherwise known as Keebler, in this week's Bulldog Story. Megan gives us an update on the Enterprise and Superman in E-News, while Kyle shows us some great games for your iPod in Technology Minute. All right, Ferris, let's get focused.
I started the museum because I wanted it to be a laboratory to teach people to talk about race in intelligent ways. So many people are afraid to talk about race, they're afraid to talk about racism, and what the museum is a collection of visual artifacts that forces people to talk about race, to talk about it in a place where their ideas can be critiqued and in some cases rebutted. This is a community, like many communities, that has been sheltered when it comes to having deep discussions about race.
I think what it does is it provides the community with a chance of being exposed to something that I think very few people have a chance to be exposed to. The university in particular is really stressing its desire to be a more diverse place, and I think it's important that the community be part of that process.
The museum is open by appointment, and generally speaking, we try to have only visits in a structured way. In other words, groups of people, usually classrooms. In terms of cost, there is no cost. There are a number of professors who take their classes in there and who use it as a central part of their instruction. What they can find are mostly segregation objects. Segregation signs, segregation pamphlets, brochures, the kind of things that say white only or no blacks or no Mexicans or no Jews and that kind of thing.
Primarily the museum is organized around caricatures of African Americans, and so you have the various imagery like the coon imagery, where you have the stereotypical imagery of kind of the lazy, dim-witted African American. You've got the pickaninny caricatures, where this is primarily on small children, and they're often depicted as food for animals. You may have seen some of the imagery where they talk about things like alligator bait, and there'll be an alligator sneaking up on a little baby African American, for example, about to have a snack basically, and so you have a lot of those images. You have the imagery of African Americans as being savages.
It's kind of ironic. I think the museum is actually better known around the nation than it is in the state of Michigan.
It's one of those museums that I suspect doesn't get a lot of press just because it's not a happy museum. It's not one of these museums that you want to take busloads of kids into, for example. And so I think sometimes that limits just how well known it is. But I think it's growing in terms of, how well it is known, both nationally and internationally.
We already have people that come here. We have filmmakers who come here and people working on their doctoral dissertations who come here. But I can tell you that because of the internet, and the museum has a powerful virtual museum, a virtual website that reaches across the entire world. Because of that internet presence, I get letters from all over the world that, from people that have visited the virtual museum.
Not only does it confront people with these images that they probably wouldn't otherwise identify as racist or necessarily pay a lot of attention to, but it also, I think its main purpose is to generate discussion.
There are few places in our culture now where people can talk openly and honestly about race. The reality is, especially with young people, many of them do not understand the history of Jim Crow segregation. They do not understand past patterns of race relations. And to be honest with you, if you don't know history, it's like walking in traffic. That ignorance of the past leads you to ignorance of the present in terms of policies and the like. And so they should go to the museum for the same reason people should go to any museum, and that is to get a deeper understanding of whatever it is that's in there.
You know, this is a capitalist nation for a reason. It's because it's the best system in the world. And it's up to young, ambitious people like us to go out there and come up with new products and new services and to establish ourselves and to be willing to put in that hard work.
President Clinton tried very hard to take this business away from financial institutions and banks because they're making a ton of money off of not only the student with interest rates, but also the taxpayer.
The problem with the money being just so readily available is that you get these kids that are just 18 years old, just starting out. You know, they're working, but it doesn't come anywhere near the cost of school, and they're taking these loans on, you know, like they're nothing. Some of them are subsidized, some aren't. That interest starts rolling right away, and you know, it's nothing to end up $20,000 in debt, $40,000 in debt. I mean, this is a serious amount of debt for someone who is just starting their career. You know, hasn't even begun to make any of that good money yet. And the problem is that, you know, our age group is the biggest number of people who aren't going to pay the debt back. I don't think the paying for it is the problem. They seem so ready to give those loans out. But the real problem is that when you're planning for school, they give you like a number for tuition, but they're talking about, you know, 12 credits. So then when you actually get your bill, because of course you got to take 15 credits even to graduate on time, you get your bill that's way more than you had planned for, so you end up taking those loans, and that's not good for anybody. It seems like that's the thing that people stop paying on first because they're trying to, you know, establish themselves as, you know, adults and have houses and fancy cars and the whole deal.
The existence of student loans and more student loans is an incentive to increase tuition because there are no conditions. There should be conditions on federal student loans that tuition not be increased by more than 2% over the rate of inflation. Then you see there would be a check. But what universities do is they tell students, oh, don't worry about it, we can get you all this loan money, and so they can increase tuition even more.
You know, before you know it, you know, you're just starting in your career and you've got, you know, you've got people after you for this money. You're buying houses, cars. I just think it's a bad situation, and I don't have a solution for it. I think it would be nice and maybe a little bit of that could be used, put back into education so that we, you know, have some you know, good, well-educated students getting great jobs, making great money, starting great businesses. You know, that's the kind of thing that's going to build our economy back up.
You're going to have a situation where most people are not going to be able to afford this, or are going to be stuck with the debts that they cannot repay.
You know, you can understand why these lenders go after us. You know, it's so easy. You end up, you know, a few $1,000s short or more, and so you take the easy way out and take those student loans, and it just adds up.
The eyes of the world now look into space. The Eagle has landed.
Space. The final frontier.
After a 6-year absence, Star Trek makes its return to the big screen. Directed by J.J. Abrams, this new vision of Star Trek chronicles the early life and first mission of Captain James T. Kirk and the crew of the USS Enterprise.
You will always be a child of two worlds.
The iconic roles of the crew have been recast with a younger group of actors. Captain Kirk, originally played by William Shatner in the classic TV show and films, is being played by newcomer Chris Pine. Leonard Nimoy reprises his role as Spock for parts of the film, while Heroes actor Zachary Quinto portrays the young Spock.
Prepare to fire all weapons.
Space is disease.
J.J. Abrams says that the film does pay homage to the 42-year history franchise, but he hopes to expose Star Trek to a whole new audience as well. Star Trek comes to theaters summer of 2009. With the success of The Dark Knight, Warner Brothers is hoping to bring more DC comic book superheroes to the big screen, such as the Green Lantern and Flash. But many are wondering about DC's most iconic superhero, Superman. The last Superman film, Superman Returns, starred Brandon Routh as the Man of Steel and was directed by Bryan Singer. It wasn't the biggest success at the box office and was received with mixed reviews. Following in the footsteps of The Dark Knight, Warner Brothers is looking to reboot the franchise, giving Superman a darker feel, much to the dismay of die-hard fans. Producer Mark Miller is talking with Warner Brothers about making a 3-film Godfather-like epic, telling the life story of Superman. Warner Brothers is hoping to have something released by 2011. Well, that's your entertainment news. My name's Megan, and I'll see you next week.
When you visit Van Dre Home Furnishings in Big Rapids, you'll meet our knowledgeable sales staff that will help transform your room or home furnishings to match the lifestyle that reflects you, whether it's your kitchen, your bedroom, or your home theater system. Van Dre has it all. 33,000 square feet of furniture, appliances, including the clearance center, and Northern Michigan's premier flooring store. You'll like the look, you'll love the price. Van Dre.
Si quieren, les hablo primero en español para que se acostumbren y después, poco a poco, puede ser en inglés también. Spanish is becoming a world language. We have about 400 million speakers worldwide, so I believe it's number 3 in the world in terms of the most common languages. Knowing a foreign language is always important for us in the United States, but I think knowing Spanish is becoming more and more important and more obvious all the time. Right now, we have about 34 million Spanish speakers in the United States. These are people living here and using Spanish on an everyday basis. People would go home and speak Spanish or watch Hispanic TV.
The 100 level classes are very basic. We just, students learn just basic vocabulary to communicate in a very basic and simple way.
Intermediate Spanish is for students who have already studied the first year or have an equivalent study in high school. And what we do at this point is review grammar from first year Spanish and then be more active in conversation and compositions. Third year Spanish is just a little more so. These are courses that we all teach in Spanish, and so this is our philosophy, is that students will learn how to speak Spanish by speaking it in class and using it all the time.
We do a lot of speaking activities, which for me is beneficial because my difficulty has always been actually speaking. I can understand it when people talk to me and I can read, but it's really hard for me to speak. So all of the activities that we do with daily reading over the homework and him asking us questions really helps me to learn the language.
Our expectations coincide with those of ACTFL. ACTFL is American Council of Teachers of Foreign Languages. They have a set of criteria in place for each level. So by the end of our program, at least by the end of the 302 Spanish course, we would expect students to have acquired the 5 basic skills, and we're talking about reading, writing, speaking and listening comprehension, as well as a cultural element that accompanies all of these. The culture course, just this past year, we have for the first time started teaching this in Spanish also. That's entirely in Spanish, and that would be our highest level course. We have a couple of other courses in the works now that have to go through the curricular process. One of those would be on Hispanic film and the other on Hispanic literature of the 20th century. And we think that these would be 400 level courses.
I have led approximately eight trips in total. I started with a trip to Puerto Rico, and then I decided to do Spain because I just love Spain. And I did 3 years in a row Salamanca in Spain, and then when I got tired of doing Salamanca, I started doing Madrid, and I did it for 3 years, and the last year for the first time I did Barcelona. So I combined Barcelona and Madrid. I always like my students to visit Madrid, and those students that have come with me to those trips, they have had a wonderful time.
I teach Spanish in Reed City at the high school, and my experiences at Ferris have really enabled me to use what I learned at Ferris to pass that knowledge on to my students. I'm able to help them with their reading and their writing and their communicating, and do it in a variety of ways where they can practice what they learn and really apply it to real life situations and not just bookwork and seat work. There were a variety of ways that we could engage ourselves as students in learning Spanish and feeling the culture. We had a Spanish roundtable where we met at El Burrito Loco, a local restaurant, and we would have a bite to eat and strictly speak in Spanish for an hour or two on Thursday nights. Another great tool that we had was Professor Ana Davila Howard. She would have these parties at her house that were actually quite fun, and she would make a big dinner for us, and we would speak in Spanish, and she would show us a lot about authentic foods that she knew from being a resident of Puerto Rico.
In some states like California, it's almost a requirement to know a second language, and Spanish usually look very good in your resume.
I chose to pursue a Spanish minor because I had taken Spanish in high school and I missed it, so I decided to start taking the classes, and then realized that because I was going into pre-med, that it was beneficial for me to also just get the minor as opposed to simply taking the classes. The Spanish minor program here at Ferris is definitely not program specific. It's good for anyone in any program because there is a lot of Spanish speaking people in the United States, and it would help anyone to get a job and communicate with others in their field and people that they would have to interact with.
We've been getting a lot of students from the dental hygiene, from allied health, from optometry, from pharmacy. These are all fields that could use Spanish because these are people dealing with Hispanics in this country, because our graduates, when they finish at Ferris, go to all different parts of the country.
It's not an easy minor, but it's definitely not a hard minor, especially because it's so much fun. It's a great way for you to get involved in something that you might not otherwise get involved with.
We are now in a global economy. And because of this, the interrelationship, the travel, this world is becoming smaller and smaller, and our need to communicate with people of other countries becoming more and more important in this electronic age.
Hey Ferris, I'm Kyle Way, and this is your Technology Minute. Still feel out of the loop with your old click-wheel iPod? Sure. The new iPhone and the iPod Touch may have all those fancy applications available for download, but the classic click-wheel iPod still has some great features available. iTunes offers games that are exclusive to click-wheel iPods, such as the Nano or the classic iPod. You can find a great selection of games for your iPod to keep you entertained for hours. iTunes has Texas Hold'em and Sudoku, board games like Scrabble, Yahtzee, and Monopoly, and even classic video games such as Pac-Man and Sonic the Hedgehog. The games cost $4.99, and once they're downloaded and imported into your iPod, you're just a click away from enjoying some really great games. Well, thanks for watching this week's Technology Minute. I've got to collect my $200 for Pass and Go. I'll see you next week.
Be with my family. That's probably the best because I don't get to see them that much. So be with my family.
I'd have to say the turkey. As always, and I get to go up north to go hunting for the whole week. That's about it to me.
Food.
Food.
Yeah, I think food is the best part about Thanksgiving. And being with your family because I haven't seen them in a long time. So other than that, oh, and Black Friday.
Oh, yeah, shopping
one. Yes, shop
Black
out.
Friday.
So food, family sometimes, and Black Friday.
Oh, it's going home and Black Friday. I'm actually doing it right now, looking up the deals online, and I can't wait to buy presents for the people I love. So that's probably getting together with them, and I haven't seen them in a while, so.
It's a good chance to catch up and talk to the family, like see what's going on in their lives, so that's my favorite part.
My birthday is on Thanksgiving, really. So we celebrate by getting money for my birthday.
The pumpkin pies at McDonald's because they're really, really good and they only have them at this time of year. And I also like seeing my family, but I really like the pumpkin pies more.
Attention students of Ferris State University, Crossroads Academy, and the Big Rapids community. Have an idea for a tee or hoodie? Innovative graphics can help bring your design to reality. We feature screen printing, embroidery, vinyl lettering, signage, banners, and rubber stamps. Innovative Graphics is your source for Greek apparel. Our sweatshirts under $50 are a great gift idea for friends and family. We're located across the bridge and just past the light at 815 Maple Street. Our hours are Monday through Friday 9 to 6 and Saturday 10 to 2.
What I love about Mancino's is the excellent service, customer satisfaction, and the rapid delivery.
Best grinders ever.
My favorite pizza? That's easy. Hands down, Mancino's.
Gotta go with grilled chicken, the best.
Be sure to show your Ferris ID and get 10% off. We deliver to the Big Rapids community.
Mancino's!
State Street, Big Rapids.
Hi, my name is Keith Horvath, and this is my Bulldog Story. Around campus, I'm actually better known as Keebler. My freshman year, we had to do like a meet and greet type of thing so we can get to know some of the people in our residence hall. And we were playing a game where you'd say your first name and then something that started with your name. So like Steve the Snake or Nancy the Kneecap, I don't know, something like that. And so I said, I'm Keith the Keebler Elf, and Keebler just stuck. So I've been called Keebler ever since. Even professors call me Keebler. In Bulldog Radio, I have a show 2 times a week, one on Sunday with a co-host for 2 hours, and then on Wednesday mornings for an hour. Big Mama Rudiger, her first name is Celeste. I don't know why, so it's Celeste Big Mama Rudiger. And my old suite mate, he would go to a class with one of our friends, Lauren, and one day she came down and I started talking to them like they were my grandkids, and Big Mama came out like the Southern grandma that wants to feed them and everything, but she would give them weird pies, like she would bake a apple pie with ranch dipping sauce or something weird like that. I don't know, it just came about like that and I started doing that. And then I thought to myself, well, why can't I add this person onto my radio show as well? And I just fool around with my voice, see what I can do differently. Sometimes they come out of the blue. Like for weather, I have a guy named Terrence White Oak. He does the weather for us. And I just thought that he sounded like a smoker that he smoked for like 32 years. And originally I was gonna make Terrence a woman to kind of make it funnier. But, you know, it just worked out that Terrence is a man. And I really don't know where it came from. I just wanted to do the weather person like that. I never really thought, you know, this voice would sound so perfect for this or this would sound perfect for that. It was just, what could I do to make it interesting and different? I don't know, there's something about radio where it just helped me calm down. It's helped me with my diction a little bit. You know, it's helped me with my creativity, thinking of weird, odd things to say, and it's also helped with my improvisational skills as well. I've been doing the theater here since I was a freshman, which was 2 years ago, and Months on End is the play that's coming up. I was cast as the co-lead of Ben The play centers around 10 different people, and they have interconnected lives, and there are 12 scenes in it, and each scene is a different month out of the year. It centers around myself and then my fiance, and we're getting married, and it's kind of based around that. Since coming to Ferris State, and I've been doing the radio and the theater, and now being in television and digital media production, I'm so grateful that I've had this opportunity to be able to continue doing what I love and what really makes me happy. And so I'm really excited to see what comes of my last few years here at Ferris.
The statement, Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living, is the primary statement that I try to bring to my classrooms. Philosophy classes are all about learning methods of examination, looking at, trying to learn methods of how to examine our lives, and trying to look at why examination improves the quality of our lives. I went to school first in South Carolina, Furman University, Greenville, South Carolina. Went there and graduated with degrees in political science and philosophy. And then I went to Baylor University in Waco, Texas, where I got a master's in political philosophy. And then I went to Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, where I got a doctorate in philosophy. I chose philosophy in part because I was taking philosophy classes as a way to get prepared for law school. I decided as a high school student that law school was the field I was going to go into. I felt that the idea of standing up for justice and right in the American way and fairness were key beliefs that were important to me, and took a class in the philosophy of the person. And in that class I read a book by Razum Kohak called The Embers and the Stars. This book was about real issues, about how to live a good life today, how to be in relationship to the environment and to other people. It was a groundbreaking, earth-shattering book in my life, and it made me realize that philosophy was a very, very powerful force. I chose Ferris in large part because I thought that this was a good department for me. I'm in the humanities department. It's a currently 5-person department that does everything from art history to religious studies and philosophy. I teach primarily philosophy classes here at Ferris. I teach right now survey engineering, ethics, philosophy of sex and love, and introduction to ethics. So if it's a philosophy class, I teach it.
He's very, very entertaining, and you can talk to him about just about anything without any problems or any ramifications.
Beyond the classroom, I also do research for books and articles. One thing I wrote was for South Park and Philosophy on the episode Douche or Turd Sandwich, whether or not our voting system works the way it should. We don't look at our pop culture perhaps as rigorously as we should. We don't look at the hidden meanings behind the things that we enjoy. Students have the ability to approach basic questions with fresh eyes. Sometimes a student in an introduction to philosophy class will ask a question, a very naive question: have you thought about this? Have you looked at this way? And because they have that new, fresh approach, they're not biased by all the years of training that I'm biased by. So questions like, is there a God? Questions like, what's the moral way to live my life? Questions like, what kind of political system should we have? Questions like, should I get married? What is love? Those are the kinds of things that we tend to just operate on autopilot. We don't reflect on the real meaning of these things. Philosophy, first and foremost, is about self-examination. And self-examination leads to a level of self-awareness. Once you know what your motivations are, once you know why you've set these goals for you, then you're able to more successfully fulfill and meet those goals.